I've spoken about dear old Michael quite a few times before on this channel. Frankly, I'm bizarrely fascinated by him even if I don't care for his type of film. It's amazing to me that a man who relishes in such a lavish and opulent mediocrity has somehow had a career that's lasted longer than a few years. In fact, now it's lasted a good near 3 decades, in fact. Sometimes I really wonder how long it takes audiences to play catch-up with certain things. But there is no denying that for all of his, misdeeds with Platinum Dunes and their pretty poor handling of their franchises, there was a time when Bay was considered honestly not that bad, and to be fair, not all his films are complete and utter boring eyesores. I personally get kind of a kick out of Bad Boys 2, even if it is such an unbelievably racist, sexist, misogynistic, stupid movie, and let me tell you, it makes me laugh and not in the way that the writers think it's making me laugh. And so comes into play the film that many consider to be Bay's best, which frankly isn't saying a lot, but hey, there you go, The Rock. Now, one would think looking at this that, okay, this might not be so bad. You've got a good cast here. You've got Aaron Sorkin and Tarantino having performed rewrites on the script, 2 of the best writers in recent cinema. A nice tight premise about renegade Marines holding people hostage on Alcatraz, which allows for would allow for a lot of great claustrophobic sequences. Okay, I can get down with that. I don't expect high art, but sure, I can live with that. And then when I finished watching it, I quickly realized, nope, this is just Bay through and through. Everything here that I couldn't stand before, I still can't stand now. Now, in relative terms, I concede it is probably the best thing Bay has done, in that at the very least it wasn't a complete train wreck. Here he does pull back a little bit. The action scenes have a little bit more of a flow to them. You can tell what's actually going on. There's not as many obnoxious explosions in frame, and there is at least some, and I wish to emphasize, some attempt at character and plot and themes. Because name one other film that Bay has been involved with where any of those could even be remotely said to exist. However, ironically, that proves to be the film's biggest problem when it's precisely trying to have a point. A really stupidly presented one, because Bay has absolutely nothing resembling the concept of subtlety, but here he tries to, at points, turn what is otherwise a pretty paint-by-numbers standard action thriller into some kind of commentary on how the US government treats wounded and veteran troops, and how the Marines are just trying to do all this so that those people can get what they deserve. I mean, okay, that's an admirable message, and it's still a relevant one, but wow, does the film go about it in the most ham-fisted ways, and it completely breaks my immersion, because one minute I'm hearing Connery and Cage just going back and forth, exchanging cheesy one-liners, all your winners go home and fuck the prom queen kind of things, and then the next minute, Ed Harris is on the screen staring at the audience saying, look how evil the government is, look what they're doing to our troops. And I'm just like, no movie, no, you do not give me all this cheese and then suddenly proceed to treat me like a 3-year-old and lecture me about, oh, look how the government screws over our troops, isn't this awful? Yes, it is awful, but you're not the movie to be telling me this. You can't go from cheese-ballishness, goofy one-liners, and really over-the-top action like an entire chase through San Francisco and expect me magically to suddenly take you seriously when Ed Harris is up there talking to all the suits about how this is just wrong. I mean, I'm not against an action film trying to have a message. Those can work fine, but the film has no grace to it, and sadly it seems bringing Sorkin and Tarantino on board did nothing to remedy this problem. In fact, it might have caused a big tone clash, because these serious elements feel like they're more in line with something Sorkin would write, and then the cheesier stuff is your typical Bay Bruckheimer kind of deal. And it just doesn't fit well. You can't have a film that's trying to be light and fun and then, at a drop of a hat, be stone cold serious. And this happens several times throughout the film, and what makes it even worse is that the Marines who are asking for all this Most of them outside of Ed Harris are either completely nameless shells you don't care about, or they're complete cartoon characters who just, all that they're missing is a mustache to twirl. But why should I care about these guys if it's so obvious the film is painting them as the villains? You can't try and give me a message and then give me no reason to support that message. And for me, that was the big issue with The Rock, is it would stop trying to be fun, at least as much fun as it could be, and it would shift to that more serious angle, and I was just like, come on, really? Because when it was being all cheeseballish and goofy and silly and doing all the stuff you expect from a Bruckheimer 90s action picture, it did it okay. I still maintain Con Air did it 1,000 times better because it never tried to push some kind of social issue very awkwardly in the audience's face. But fair enough, there's some admittedly enjoyable action here, like the chase in San Francisco, or some of the fights in the underground tunnels under Alcatraz. Even the climax with Cage having to stop the weapon, that was actually fairly okay, honestly. Very over the top, but hey, it's not bad, and the performers are not bad here. You got, Cage is doing what he does best. You got Connery being badass and really commanding on screen, even if his lines are pretty much all the stock, I'm the tough old guy and you gotta listen to me kind of lines. Ed Harris is fine. Tony Todd as one of the Marines is actually pretty menacing, which again doesn't work in this context, though it's not his fault. It's photographed competently and the score is actually fairly effective, but it's a film that simply doesn't know what it wants to be, and for me, that's what killed it. Con Air may have been just as goofy and cheesy and silly and implausible, but it knew what it wanted to be. It knew its audience. It knew what they wanted. And frankly, the plane crash, or the escape, or the final chase through Las Vegas, millions of times better than any of the action in this film. Shot better, it's edited better, it allows you to get into the action sequences more, and you actually have characters that you can root for. They're very archetypical, sure, but at least they have something here, and it's not trying to shove some kind of third-rate attempt at political commentary in there in the most ungracious manner possible. In fact, it's kind of amusing that the two films are released so close together, because they're very much a night and day difference on the same basic concept. Big, loud, silly fun, but one did it the right way by not interrupting that fun, and then the other decided, no, I want to be more than that. Well, you shouldn't have.